So I've traveled there and I've been 5 times to Afghanistan and I've driven through different parts of it. I've been with the American army on these missions I've filmed them to clean up these guerrilla activity along the Pakistan border. So I've seen it all, so I have a lot of experience. I've met a lot of people there. I've built contacts.
Were you ever shot at during these times?
No, I was never shot at. I was fortunate enough because, sometimes you have the luck of the devil. And so I decided to write a few books about my experiences. So the first book I wrote was The Bomb, the Bank, the Mullah and the Poppies, which talked about how the Pakistanis harvested heroin from the opium in order to pay for their nuclear program. And the second book was The Nukes, the Jihad, the Hawalas and crystal meth, which is how they decided to shift to becoming a multi-product narcotics producer. And for which they had to get the Americans out of Afghanistan, and they unleashed a jihad. And in fact, Mullah Baradar, who was the guy who led the talks with the Americans in Doha, he was the most brilliant manager of the opium business. And he was the one of Pashtun who provided the structural oversight from the Afghan side on the growth of the business.
Is Afghanistan very much like how they portrayed in Kabul Express, the 2001 movie?
Yeah, it's a pretty accurate kind of representation. I mean, when I went there, the most common sight was an Afghan on a donkey, with no concept of time. And he'd be going, the donkey would be moving and carrying him. And he didn't know when he's going to reach his destination. Whenever he reached it. His only concession to modernity was, this is mind you in 2001, was the AK-47, which was slung across his shoulder. So that was my first impression and most lasting impression of Afghanistan. So I went to the firing range of the Northern Alliance in a place called Khoja Bahudin. And I told them, I said, please teach me how to fire a friggin' AK-47.
If you want to watch small segments of the podcast, subscribe to Dostcast Clips.
So I fired a magazine and I became confident. And every time I went there, I went to the local police station, which I knew this was the practice. I deposited $100. I rented a AK-47 at $10 a day, along with the magazine. And I had it in my Land Cruiser, which I used to drive around the city and other places. And I had a satellite phone, a Thuraya phone, which I got in by courier from Dubai. And then I'd release it back to the dealer after I finished with it. And I had the AK-47 with me. So when I went to Bagram Air Base for the first time in 2003 to meet the US PRO there, Colonel Roger King, at the gate, these guys stopped us and said, "You got a weapon?" I said, "Yes, we have." "Why do you have a weapon?" "We have a weapon to protect ourselves." "You can't carry it. We're going to confiscate it." I said, "Okay, so be it." So I told Colonel King, I said, "Colonel King, I've come from a poor country. I've just given a deposit of $100 at the main police station in Kabul to get this AK. Can you give it back to me when I leave?" He said, "Sure." And he signed a chit and told these guys, return the gun back to him.
I've never heard of a rent an AK service. That's very funny.
There are experiences and experiences.
But how would you phone home? Like, what would you say?
On the Thuraya phone.
No, but how would you explain what the hell you were doing in that world at that moment?
I called up my wife and I said, it's snowing here in Kabul and it's fun and we're getting along. But the first time was bad because the first time we went in and we had a satellite phone which went bust because it was so hot. It was in the summer. We were in this bloody desert and in Khoja Bahudin, in the Takhar province. And it was 50 degrees centigrade. And our camera packed up and the satellite phone packed up.
Yeah, so we were discussing you would phone home and just talk about the weather and just deflect what you were actually up to.